Good afternoon, honorable members of the High Table, Nana Himanum, Nananum, members of Parliament, most of whom are not here today, but I'm acknowledging them anyway. Members of the media, members of Parliament are elsewhere, you know what's going on. Members of the media, members of the executive and judicial branches of government, political party leaders, members of civil society, members of academia, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular pleasure this afternoon to welcome you all to the IEA Constitutional Review Seminar Series, which began in September 2022. At our most recent seminar last week, we were privileged to hear the insightful views and reflections of distinguished chiefs, Nananum, from the National House of Chiefs. So let me take that again. At our most recent seminar last week, we were privileged to hear the insightful views and reflections of distinguished chiefs, Nananum, from the National House of Chiefs. They spoke on various issues regarding the Constitution and national life. Some of the issues bordered on decentralization, the importance of adhering to the National Development Planning Commission's development plan for the nation, and also issues surrounding the Supreme Court and the appointment of a Chief Justice, for instance. So we had, among others, we had a lovely time. Now, today, we are privileged to have Queen Mothers, paramount Queen Mothers from around our country. We all know that Queen Mothers, as traditional rulers, are crucial in national development, and the institution of chieftaincy continues to be a force for political, cultural, and economic progress. Queen Mothers work with central and local governments and other non-governmental actors in the development space to develop strategies and programs aimed at tackling developmental challenges. They also serve, like all traditional authorities, as the custodians of the customs and culture of the people in their respective communities. In addition, Queen Mothers contribute extensively to the promotion of peace and conflict resolution in their various jurisdictions and in the nation as a whole. Their full recognition and legal empowerment in the 1992 Constitution is therefore imperative. I am therefore, as you can tell, very excited to host some paramount Queen Mothers here today. I hope you will agree with me that this seminar promises to be a historic and an interesting and illuminating seminar. It is my privilege, therefore, to introduce, first of all, our Queen Mothers on the High Table, and then our Queen Mothers from around the country, paramount Queen Mothers, who have been so kind as to grace this occasion. So, first of all, we have the President of the Queen Mothers Platform, Ghana, Nana Ponsua. Forgive me, let me start again. The President of the Queen Mothers Platform, Ghana, Nana Amponsa Dokua III, who is the paramount Queen Mother of Osudoku Traditional Area. Please join me in giving her a warm round of welcome. applause. Nana Manye, you're welcome. Then we have the Vice President of the Queen Mothers Platform Ghana, who is to my immediate right, Nana Educhumuwa Dukua, I hope I said it right, Paramount Queen Mother of Achim Ebuakwa traditional area. Incidentally, my late father is from that area. Thank you very much. You are welcome, Nana. Then we were looking forward to seeing our Paramount Queen Mother of the Grobo traditional area, but she couldn't make it today. She is the Executive Secretary of the Queen Mothers Platform and is an integral member of that association. And so we also have Mamaga Tolefo the Fifth. I hope I said it right. Mamaga Tolefo the Fifth, Executive Member of the Queen Mothers Platform Ghana, Paramount Queen Mother of the traditional area. Please give her a warm round of applause. Thank you so much for coming, Mamaga. And then on the high table, we also have the Executive Director, founder actually, the founder and Executive Director of Hollandef, Ghana. She's Madame Nanama Yira. She's the founder and she's going to be the discussant for today. Please give her a warm round of applause. In fact, her NGO, her organization works on land and natural resources governance, gender and social inclusion, project management, and gender is an integral part of all that she does. She has extensive experience also in organizational strengthening, monitoring and evaluation, research and report writing, and loves to provide coaching to organizations and individual practitioners in these areas. And therefore, she's been working with Queen Mothers Platform over the past few years. Thank you very much, Nana Mayira, Madam, for coming to grace the occasion and to be a discussant for us. Yes. And then I'm very privileged to introduce to you other Queen Mothers who are here with us today. Please, if I mention your name, just give us a nice wave so that we know who you are. We have Nanama Emisa III, Paramount Queen Mother of the Mankesin traditional area. You are very welcome. Let's give her a warm round of welcome applause. We have Nana Abna Jemfua II, Paramount Queen Mother of Asim Atandanso. Thank you very much. My younger sister is called Nana Abna, by the way. And then Nana Kabukwo Dumale Dabuju, Paramount Queen Mother of the Adan traditional area. Don't they look splendid in their royal regalia? Oh my goodness. Beautiful, beautiful. We are so grateful to have you. And then we have Nana Kolekwo Ajado III, Paramount Queen Mother of Yilo Krobo. Hey. Please let's give her a warm round of applause. Again, you say, hey, this woman, I'm multicultural. My mother is from Manya Krobo. I'm from Manya Krobo, and that's Yilo. Thank you very much. Then we have Mama Senami. Did I say it right? Mama Senami. Mama. Sorry. Mama Senami. Senama. I have to blame somebody. Okay. Mama Senama. I'll blame myself. Mama Senama, Paramount Queen Mother of the Mafi traditional area. There she is in her splendid painting. Thank you so much, Mama, for coming. Then we have Madam Linda Tabasum, Paramount Queen Mother of the Saboba traditional area, all the way from the northern region. You are so welcome, very, very welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And finally, we have Paramount Queen Mother of the Yoyo traditional area, from the Northeast region, Madam Patience Dupa.
It's rather Binkrugu, not you.
Binkrugu.
Binkrugu traditional.
Binkrugu traditional area. Our chairperson was the former director of Public Relations and External Affairs at the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, PURC, where she worked for 13 good years. She then worked at the Ghana Free Zones Board for 4 years. She's a mother and a journalist by profession.
Thank you very much. Yesterday when I saw the call from PROF, I said an instruction is coming. Let me take this call. So I answered and he said he wanted me to chair the Queen Mother's discussion on the review of the Constitution. I was elated because when I came here last week and I saw all the men making their contributions to the review of the Constitution, I said, where are the women? And I thought that we should precede the men because we are superior and we make them the chiefs. Yes, of course, because even God said that we meet them at the point of their need. Without us, they don't exist. It is clear. And God said this one cannot exist without a woman, and God created us to help them. If we are not around, they cannot exist. They cannot function. That's the right way. So I was a bit, but I couldn't say it because Prof is my dad. Normally I would ask, but for this one I didn't ask. So when I heard the women were coming today, I said whatever I'm doing, I will be here. Little did I know that I'm coming to chair. I am so pleased to be with you all, beautifully dressed. I struggle with wearing a headgear, but today I said let me find one so that I am with you. The Constitution certainly needs a review, and we have to make sure that it is reviewed. I always say that its time is past. It has served a good purpose. It has controlled our governance system, but the time has come for us to make it more contemporary, for us to make it more modern. And I believe that today, as you contribute and as you dialogue, you look at some issues to do with vulnerabilities, disability, because we the women, when we have the disabled children, we have it with the man, but the woman is made to accept all the burden. Sometimes they even say that our wombs are not lean. That is why we have disabled children. So we need to look at the support enshrined in the Constitution for the disabled, even the disabled adults, because you don't know when you become disabled. An unfortunate situation in your life can change the dynamics of movement, and everybody can be disabled. We need to make sure that provisions are good enough. One thing that shocked me, as I was reading through the Constitution on chieftaincy, I thought I wasn't seeing right. I thought I didn't see anything about queen mothers in the House of Chiefs. It crossed my mind that I've never heard a woman being the president of the House of Chiefs. Then I inquired, has there ever been a woman as the president of the House of Chiefs? And they said we don't even belong there. And I'm like, wow. As we meet today, I am interested in this and I'm going to take it as a project. Yes, we should ensure that women are in the House of Chiefs. Because especially in our matrilineal settings, without the Queen Mother, the chief is not installed. If I'm wrong, somebody should correct me. So why are we not in the House of Chiefs? Because we are also chiefs, but we are female. Tomorrow when the chief is gone, it is the Queen Mother who takes over till a new chief is installed. So we should be part of it. And I believe that this should be made strongly, that as a new constitution comes in place, we the women will be part of the House of Chiefs. And I want to see a day that a woman is the president of the House of Chiefs. As we look forward to a woman becoming the president of this nation one day, it has to happen. Because we contribute a lot. When Professor Tando was speaking, she said that you are the doyens of development. You bring peace. That now I understand why we have so many chieftaincy disputes. Because the women are not there. We are relegated to the background. It is time for us, for the champions, to arise. Today the champions have met. And we are the champions. Yes, we are the champions. No matter what anybody says, without us, the wheels will not grind. And today is the day that you have the opportunity to make sure that you put yourself in there. You should let us talk about the children, protection for them, our children. When the child is good, the child has become a lawyer and a doctor, it is the man's child. When the child becomes wayward and is sick, it is for the woman. It is time that we change the paradigm shift from the status quo and ensure that with all our hard work, we are recognized. Today I'm privileged to sit in the chair, and I thank the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament for seeing it fit to nominate me to steer the affairs of this session. I know we are going to make some great inputs. I know we are going to make some great changes. That at the end of the day, when this document comes out, women will be well represented in the Constitution. Because, for instance, affirmative action, the bill is still lying there. It is not going anywhere. It is still lying there. The men in cabinet and the Speaker of Parliament promised that he loves us and that he's going to make sure it is passed. The two bodies are made up of men, the cabinet and the parliament, and the women are not too many. So they don't really care. It is time that we care for ourselves. We have cared for everybody for far too long. And the time has come that as a unit and as a team, we come together as one to move things for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, Professor Michael OQUAYE, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present, the media. I bring you greetings from the national executives and members of the Queen Mothers Platform Ghana. I would also like to express our profound gratitude to the IEA for giving us the opportunity to contribute our viewpoints in the seminar series on the review of Ghana's 1992 Constitution. Before I continue, let me give you a brief introduction to the Queen Mothers Platform Ghana. Queen Mothers Platform Ghana, we are a consultative platform of all gazetted paramount Queen Mothers in Ghana. We are set up as a registered national body with a clear defined governance and leadership structure, both at the national and regional levels. Our goal is to organize and represent the voice of all Queen Mothers, women, youths, and children in Ghana, while building our capacity to support our chiefs in handling national leadership in our respective traditional areas. Queen Mothers Platform, you can find out more about us on our website at www.umpghana.com. So from here, when you see me, I'll give it to you. You Google, you get to know more about Queen Mothers Platform Ghana. Today's seminar series, the Queen Mothers Platform Ghana would like to share proposals on 5 main areas of attention for a constitutional review. These 5 areas of concern to Queen Mothers in Ghana. It is of interest to women, youths, and for the general socio-economic development of our country, Ghana. The first point on the list is recognition, visibility. We must add the rest. Legitimacy, inclusion of the Queen Mothers as a traditional leader. Queen Mothers are women who hail from the appropriate royal family, who have been nominated and installed or installed as the traditional leaders. Occasionally, the chief and queen mothers are related to each other as mother and son, uncle and niece, nephew and aunts, or cousins, etc., etc. Queen mothers play an important role in local governance and with social powers and influence as a leader. The 1992 Constitution is the supreme law of the land of Ghana, and it provides certain basic rights and guarantees for all citizens of the country, irrespective of gender. The fundamental human rights and freedom are enshrined in Chapter 5 of the Constitution. These fundamental human rights are to be respected by the executive, legislature, judiciary, and all other organs of government and agencies, and where applicable to them, by all natural and legal persons in Ghana. You'll find this in Article 12, subsection 1. Article 17, subsection 1 states that all persons shall be equal before the law, and Clause 2 provides that no person shall be discriminated against on grounds of gender, race, color, ethnic origin, religion, creed, or social or economic status. The Constitution of Ghana defines discriminate as giving different treatment to different persons attributable only or mainly to their respective description by race, place of origin, political opinions, group, gender, occupation, religion, or creed, whereby persons of one description are subject to disability or restriction, to which person of another description are not made subject or are granted privilege or advantage which are not granted to person of another description. That is Article 17. This is only the lawyers who understand this statement. But this provision of the Constitution, there is an imperative obligation on all persons, whether an individual or corporate bodies, public or private organization, not to discriminate against women. This, of course, includes discrimination against queen mothers as female traditional leaders in Ghana. The limited recognition, legitimacy, and eventually exclusion of queen mothers in formal constitutional mandated space where formal engagement with traditional leaders is required present. A fundamental constitution is breach. No objective basis exists for this exclusion of queen mothers from participating at the highest level of national development. Then the number 2, I said we are going to talk about 5. The number 2 is institution of chieftaincy and chieftaincy roles. Are they really for chiefs and queen mothers? This question goes to all of us. The institution of chieftaincy and chieftaincy roles, are they really for chiefs and queen mothers? I don't think so. The institution of chieftaincy predated the colonial administration. It is a heretical system which in a traditional area, many commence at the lowest level with a headman who oversees a village. Several headmen own allegiance to a local chief, and several local chiefs in turn own allegiance to either a divisional or a paramount chief. Chiefs at each level have councils of elders and many of them also have queen mothers at each level in the hierarchy. This hierarchical arrangement is mirrored in the laws of chieftaincy in section 12 of the Chieftaincy Act, that is 208 Act 759. Create a traditional council which is comparative to the councils of elders of a local chief. The paramount chief presides as president of the council. Article 274 of the Constitution and Section 6 of the Chieftaincy Act creates regional houses of chiefs. A regional house of chiefs is made up of president of the traditional councils in the administrative region. Article 272 of the Constitution and Section 1 of the Chieftaincy Act creates a national house of chiefs. The national house is made up of 5 elected representatives of each regional house of chiefs. These constitutional bodies have important constitutional and statutory powers. Unfortunately, these bodies are composed principally of male traditional rulers, even though the provision in the law do not specifically bar female from membership of the houses of chiefs. And the Constitution is to recognize queen mothers as chiefs, yet no specific provision is made to include them in the houses of chiefs, even some of the traditional areas. Women, queen mothers, the paramount queen mothers are not called, some of the are not called for traditional councils, left alone regional houses and national houses. The constitutional provision on the setup of this institution can therefore not be described as being gender responsive. This means there is little opportunity for females to be made members of the house. The exclusion of queen mothers also denies us opportunity for participating in national policy processes. Regional houses of chiefs and traditional councils have adjudication powers to sit and decide chieftaincy disputes. By section 26 of the Chieftaincy Act, a regional house has original jurisdiction in matter relating to a paramount stool or scheme, or the occupant of the paramount stool or scheme, including queen mothers to a paramount stool or scheme. The idea behind the creation of the Judicial Committee of the regional houses and traditional council is that the chiefs are better placed to adjudicate on matters affecting their own institution than the ordinary courts. By parity of reason, one would have expected the queen mothers to be part of the process to be able to similarly assist in the adjudication of matters affecting their kind. The Constitution has given the House of Chiefs authority to undertake progressive study and compilation of customary laws in the country and undertake their evaluation with the view of eliminating those customs that are harmful or outmoded. This can be found in Article 27, B and C. This means that the House of Chiefs has the right to modify customary law in line with modern trend, and they can also choose to maintain the harmful practice if they so wish. The exclusion of queen mothers in this space of decision making implies that the opportunity to influence customary law and practices is taken away from queen mothers and placed exclusively in hands of who? Chiefs. The opportunity to reinforce existing discriminatory practices left in the hands of whom? Chiefs. This is contrary to the constitutional protection that all citizens should benefit from them. In the case of the queen mothers, their right to inclusion is left in the hands of chiefs to determine. Our fate is in the hands of our chiefs. This is a serious breach. It appears the Constitution considers chiefs as the only members of constituting the institution of chieftaincy, even though we have both chiefs and queen mothers as the acts defined. We hereby urgently appeal for the inclusion of queen mothers in leadership through this constitutional amendment. by acknowledging the vital role of queen mothers in the absence of the paramount chief or chief. We can rectify historical disparities and promote gender equity. It is crucial that the senior-most ruler, as the queen mother or the paramount queen mother, either the paramount queen mother or divisional queen mother, assumes the responsibility of acting, ensuring continuity and stability in governance. Our experience, wisdom, and knowledge of local customs will enrich decision-making process, while inspiring young women to pursue leadership role. In this one, later, Queen Mothers will talk more about it. We are in the same house, the same division. You are the paramount queen mother, then the paramount chief is there. Within the same division, then the paramount chief either passes on or he is not there. Whom should you think should be the right person to act in the absence of the paramount chief? Across Ghana, it will never be a paramount queen mother. It will rather jump to a different division for that person to act while you are there. So they come to the traditional council, they decide, they do whatever they do, then they leave. Even in your division, you have no right to take over within the division, if not the traditional council. This is what is happening in Ghana. By encouraging participation and representation, this eminence will create a more inclusive and equitable society. Let us stand together in this plea for progress, recognizing the immense value queen mothers bring to leadership, empowering women to shape our collective future. Then, on the customary land governance, Ghana, like most African countries, have struggled with providing secure access to land for its growing population, especially women, to ensure their socio-economic well-being and promote sustainability economic development. Part of the problem appears to be linked to weak and inefficient land governance practices. This unfortunate situation contributes to several land development challenges, feeding the continent. It is generally accepted that a good land governance system that is open, transparent, accountable, and well-informed will help resolve many of these major problems on the continent. In Ghana, customary land contributes about 80% of the land mass. These lands are communally owned. It will therefore be in the interest of good governance and beneficial to the members of the land-owning community if the team responsible for the management of such land is fully representative of all sections of the community. It is imperative that the various interests within the communities are taken on board in all decisions affecting the land they jointly own. Communal ownership of land means that both men and women are part owners of the land and should have an interest in its efficient management. However, traditional authorities that manage the land and natural resources are the male counterparts across Ghana. The main dominant in decision-making process on land may be a contributing factor in perpetuating gender inequalities in access and control of land. It is noted that women have made significant progress in several sectors of the society. They have excelled and have largely been accepted as equal partners with men. There is therefore improvement in the number of female selection or appointed to political positions or other public offices of authority in Ghana. In Ghana, there is a great change. However, little progress has been made in the area of gender equality in customary land government. If it is accepted that women lack of adequate access to land is a problem, then it is imperative that queen mothers should be included in the bodies responsible for management of customary land so that they can promote women's land rights and their socio-economic well-being. settling the denomination of customary land management bodies by men does nothing to advance the land right of women. Another matter that calls for attention is the mismanagement of some communal land by some custodians. There are instances of inappropriate grant of customary land and the distribution of what? Proceeds. One way to ensure accountability in the management of customary land is for representatives of all sections of the community to be part of the management of the land. This means that women, as important stakeholders, should be adequately presented on the Management Council of Customary Lands, as they stand to benefit most from the different and transparent management of the lands. The exclusion of queen mothers is symbolized by the fact that we are not made part of the elders who make grants of communal land. Enquiries at the Lands Commission in 2018 in the study we commissioned confirmed that females are hardly included as signatories to the conveyance of customary land. This, of course, also means that they will not be involved in the negotiations prior to the grant of the land and will therefore not know the consideration paid for the land as well as what? Utilization. Article 35 clause CB says that the state shall take appropriate measures to achieve responsible regional and gender balance in recruitment and appointment of public offices, even though this provision relates to public offices. Is said to underpin the spirit behind the new constitutional order on gender equality applicable to the customary land management system in the country. Moreover, Article 36(8) on the directive principle of state policy provided, the state shall recognize that ownership and possession of land carrying a social obligation to serve the larger community, and in particular, the state shall recognize that of public, stool, skin, and family lands are fiduciarily charged with the obligation to discharge their function for the benefit responsible for the people of Ghana of the stool, skin, or family concerned are accountable as fiduciary in this regard. This article emphasizes the fiduciary nature of customary land, holding which places a constitutional duty on the manager of this land to be accountable to their members, males and female, for the diligent and faithful management of the land. The duty will be best performed if the view of all sections of the generality of beneficiary owned are sought and incorporated in the decision-making process. This process of consultation shall be formalized so that it is not left in the discretion of any particular traditional leader to choose to include queen mothers or not. Finally, as another aspect of the constitutional injection against discrimination is that it provides general protection against discrimination against women with respect to access to land. This means that traditional, cultural or practices and many other such reasons cannot be used in justification for restricting women access to land or denying them security of title to land based solely on their gender. We have other speakers. So on this note, I will end here and I will invite the second speaker to add to it. Thank you very much for your attention.
So let me just introduce our next speaker, who is going to give us a few words. Madam Linda Tabasun, Paramount Queen Mother of Saboba Traditional Area in the Northern Region.
Professor Margaret Gray present, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity. In addition to what the earlier presenter mentioned, the Queen Mothers have two other areas to touch on. They are: 1. Revenue from customary lands. The 1992 Constitution has definitive provision on gender equality. Discrimination based on gender, ethnic origin, or color is prohibited. Despite these clear provisions, the Constitution does not specifically include Queen Mothers in the distribution of stool lands revenue. This is unfair, as the Queen Mothers play complementary roles with their male counterparts. They occupy stools which requires maintenance, and they also incur expenditure to preserve their status as queens and mothers of their communities to carry out their functions. The Administration of Land Act 1962, Act 123, was passed to control the management of stool lands. It affected stool management in 2 important areas. Firstly, the consent and concurrence stool lands revenue is to be undertaken by the Office of Administrator of Stool Lands and paid into the stool lands accounts on behalf of the stool land owners. Both statutory interventions have now been captured in the 1992 Constitution under Article 267. In addition, the provision in the Constitution relating to the collection and disbursement of stool lands revenue are repeated in the Office of the Administrator of Stool Land Act 1994, Act 481. The Constitution in Article 267, 6A, reserves 25% of the stool lands revenue to the stool for the maintenance of the stool in keeping with its status. The distribution of the stool lands revenue in the Constitution, however, does not include Queen Mothers. This is unfair. I repeat again. This is unfair and needs redress. Queen Mothers play complementary roles with their male counterparts. I still emphasize. They occupy stools which similarly requires maintenance, and they also incur expenditure to preserve their status as queens and mothers of their communities to carry out their function. Again, since Queen Mothers and female leaders are usually not part of the leaders responsible for allocation of lands, into bracket whether it is stool or family land, they hardly benefit from the significant revenue which comes to traditional leaders in the form of consideration, into bracket drink money. For the allocation of customary lands, whatever financial benefits Queen Mothers and other female traditional leaders get from the revenue from customary lands comes to them by way of handouts from the chiefs or other male traditional leaders. It appears that they receive these benefits not as of right, but as a result of occasional goodwill of their male counterparts. If female leaders and Queen Mothers are, however, made part of decision-making process and customary land management, it is expected that transparency and accountability in the land management will improve. The Queen Mothers may then benefit from the proceeds from the allocation of lands and also take part in decision and proper use of revenue for the benefit of the entire community. Point 2. Other legislations. There are a number of laws in the country which reserve certain statutory and constitutional positions for traditional leaders. For a long time, male chiefs have invariably been selected to occupy these positions. This is bias, is unacceptable, and qualified Queen Mothers can very well fill this position to advance the cause of gender equality, and this should be done. Some of these statutory positions include membership of the Metropolitans, Municipal and District Assembly, Regional Lands Commission, Regional Police Council, Regional Fire Service, Statutory Planning Committees, etc. With regards to the membership of traditional councils and House of Chiefs, the constitutional and statutory amendments will be required to allow Queen Mothers to be admitted as members. There appears to be no legal disability against Queen Mothers acting together with their male counterparts in land administration and being members of any decision-making body at all levels to contribute to the efficient management of the land resource of their communities. However, if this will be operationally difficult at this time due to the way the existing infrastructure has been designed, then we call for a creation of a chamber of Queen Mothers should be created at the regional and national level to support the mobilization and engagement of Queen Mothers in policy engagement and national development process. We have a lot of recommendations. I will end here and call on my colleague, executive member, to present the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Finally, we are looking forward to hearing from Nana Abna Jemfua II, Paramount Queen Mother of Asin Atamdan. So I hope I said it right. She's here to give us the recommendations. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, permits me to stand on the existing protocols because we don't have much time. But because I have given recommendations, I have some questions that I cannot add to the recommendations. And this question goes to all of us. I am a Queen Mother from Asina Tandanso traditional area, for that matter, matrilineal area. I nominate somebody to become the Paramount Chief because I'm a Paramount Queen Mother. Why should I nominate somebody to be recognized more than the one who nominated the person? To have recognition and power more than me, the Paramount Queen Mother, who nominated him. Second question is, the kingmakers who made me the Queen Mother or the kingmakers who made the Paramount Chief are the same kingmakers who made the Paramount Queen Mother or who installed the Paramount Queen Mother. But when we are looking for somebody to act in absence of the Paramount Chief or the Chief, the Chieftaincy Act says the chief next in seniority. The Queen Mother and the other chiefs who are divisional chiefs. Who is senior? Is it not me? But they have written the chief in seniority because they didn't say the Queen Mother in seniority. Then again, the Chieftaincy Act defines a chief as, includes, it says the definition includes Queen Mothers. But when it comes to selecting somebody to become the next person in power, they say Queen Mothers are not part of it. I don't understand. And again, the Chieftaincy Act, the new one does not mention acting president. This is something I'm coming to. This one will go to my Lord. The new one does not mention acting president. So it says that when we meet, then the senior most chief will, act as the president for that particular meeting. So it is not supposed to be a position for somebody to take, and then when that person is coming, says, I am the next Omaini, and they'll be holding the waist for that person. It is not a position that you take upon yourself, or a title, let me put it that way. It's not a title. You should act that day for the meeting. If we are able to finish that day's business, your work is finished. You go home. When we meet next time and it is the next senior chief is the Queen Mother or the other chief, then that person also presides. But acting president issues, if I want to bring it here, will not go. Let me give my recommendations. Thank you very much. So we are saying our recommendations are that Queen mothers to be incorporated in the decision-making processes. As noted in the 1995 Beijing Platform for Action document, without the active participation of women and the incorporation of women's perspective of all levels of decision-making, the goals of equality, development, and peace cannot be achieved. Queen mothers should therefore be made mandatory parts of the decision-making process, from the local level to the national level. Specifically, they should be part of the Council of Elders, of the chiefs and heads of families responsible for the management of customary lands. And you know, in the Akan areas, it is we, the women, that give birth for the continuation of the clans or the families. Am I not correct? Some of us are here, we don't know which clan we belong to. I mean the Bretu, the OQUAYE, and the Asenye, and all those clans. But when it comes to selling of lands or leasing of the lands, the men are in charge. When their children do not belong to that family or clan, why is it so? My child, I am a senior, so my son is an Asenia born, a senior child. But my son will go and marry a woman from, let's say, Oyuko or Bretuo or whatever clan. And so his children belong to that family. So something, a land that belongs to Asenia land should not go to my son. It's my son, I'm not being discriminative here. But when it goes to my son, it means that my son is throwing it away into a different clan. But they are in charge. But I nominate my son to become, the chief or the leader or the head of that family. But, so the Fantis, I can't say this in Fanti, but I'll try. They say that PROF, so many things are wrong. We have to go back to our roots and make them correct. Thank you very much. There is no legal disability preventing females from joining their male counterparts as equal partners in the management of customary lands. Long-standing practices and I'm sorry, I didn't put my second eye. Forgive me. There is no legal disability preventing females from joining their male counterparts as equal partners in the management of customary lands. Long-standing practices and the patriarchal system should give way to all-inclusive decision-making processes. Fair uniform modalities should be put in place to ensure that there is effective representation for queen mothers in land governance. We are also saying percentage of female representation on Council of Elders. The men go and take decisions for us. Excuse my word, do you know how many sanitary pads a young lady will use in a day? Or let me use myself as an example. Do you know how many sanitary pads that I'll use in a day? Those times in school, I'm 50 years old. Those times in school, when I menstruate, there's no child here, right? Nanacha, am I permitted? Okay, thank you. When I'm seeing red, okay, let me polish it. So when I'm seeing red, first 3 days I don't go to school. Because even if I use 5 or 10, there will be a problem. So I have to stay at home. So if a man goes to take this decision on behalf of women, how do you know how many sanitary pads that a girl will need? Please. We gave birth to you, the men. We don't hate you. But all we are saying is that you cannot wear a woman's shoe. If you are a man, you still wear your shoe. You cannot wear moccas. Thank you very much. So, percentage of female representation of Council of Elders. In accordance with the recommendation of UN agencies, a minimum of 30% is recommended for women's effective representation on the council. Anything less will deny women their rightful voice and influence on the deliberations of the councils. It is noted that the government's current coordinated program of economic and social development policies 2017 to 2024 has the same target of 30%. So, where there are obstacles of getting the required number of females to ensure adequate representation of women is achieved, affirmative action may be necessary to achieve the required number of female leaders. This will ensure that a good number of queen mothers and other female traditional leaders will be made members of the councils and other relevant bodies responsible for land governance at all levels. Management of customary land revenue. There ought to be fair distribution and utilization of customary land revenue for the benefit of the members of the land owning group. The benefits from the revenue should extend equally to female as well as to male members. Dealings in customary land should be open and transparent. Revenue received from customary land transactions should be recommended and accounted for. With respect to the constitutional provisions on the distribution of stool land revenue, there needs to be constitutional amendments to include queen mothers. Effective implementation of the national gender policy. The broad provisions in the NGP are good as they are supportive of the equal representation of women in decision-making in respect of land management, as well as the removal of discrimination against women in all sectors of national life. What is urgently required is that the next strategic implementation plan of the NGP should be prepared to specifically address the gender inequality associated with the representation of queen mothers and other female traditional leaders on the councils of elders at the traditional levels. This, of course, means that the understanding and support of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, and for that matter, the government should be obtained for the incorporation of these ideals as part of the implementation of the NGP. Public policy directions. A change in attitude of public institutions and public officers is essential. Public land sector institutions should be more gender sensitive and play their part in ensuring the fair treatment of queen mothers. They should insist on fair gender representation in their contacts and dealings with traditional land-owning groups. They should ensure that queen mothers and female traditional leaders are represented in discussions on matters involving land and relevant to traditional authorities. The public agencies should consider amending their internal procedures to accommodate the gender dimension. As an example, the Lands Commission's standard operating procedures provide that a customary land grant by a chief or head of family should be evidenced by the signatures of at least 2 elders to signify the consent of the Council of Elders to the grant. This regulation could easily be amended to increase the required number of elders to sign the grant to sign the grant to 3, one of whom should be a female traditional leader. And where there is no stool in that particular family that owns the land, we can say it should be an Oba Penny. If there is no stool, then we can say a Queen Mother. But Oba Penny can take that position or to sign. This regulation will be an easy enforcement provision that all land-owning groups should desire to make grants out of their land planning agency. Their land will have no comply, with immediately. Other public sector agencies like the Land Use and Special Planning Agency, OASL, MMDAs could also adopt similar measures. Because when they die and go, we are taking over, and research tells us that the men die earlier than the women. Is that not correct? Am I the one saying it?
No.
This one, they has research backing on. So the men will go and the women will be there to take over. So let us also sign. Thank you. See, thank you, Honorable. Public education and engagement with stakeholders. For the support and understanding from the general public and as well as voluntary cooperation from stakeholders, an intensive public education campaign is required from the several women's advocacy groups which want to see changes made. The media itself should be brought on board with the supply of relevant information to enable gender-sensitive journalists readily back to the campaign. Media, are you here? Are you here? Oh, you are there like you are not there. Thank you. In addition, stakeholders like chiefs, 2 elders, family heads, and community leaders should be engaged. The engagement should encompass queen mothers, other female traditional leaders. And here I want to add Oba Penny, because it's not all the clans that have stools, or that own stools. So where there is no stool in that clan, it means that we are taking them out. So I want to add that there's every clan or every family has Oba Penny. Mama Ghana, then we are going into the paramount queen mothers of the Volta region. Well, they are called Mama Ghana. Yes. There's a distinction, yes. The paramount queen mothers from the Volta region are called Mama Ghana. And then the divisionals can be Mama. Yes. So, because I'm from the Akan area, though my father is from Aplau, we will say Oba Penny. So I guess the Mamagas can also tell us who or how Oba Penny can be called in their language. Thank you very much. And it is very, very important. The reality of gender discrimination and the contribution women could make to decision making should be explained to them, as well as the legal and policy justification for the proposed changes. Advocacy should also aim at getting the public and traditional authorities to agree to abandon outmoded norms and customs should be, advocacy should also aim at getting the public and traditional authorities to agree to abandon outmoded norms and customs should be discouraged in our communities. As for this one, we are all guilty. I mean the traditional rulers present, Queen Mothers, yes, and our chiefs, we are all guilty. The reality of gender, because some time ago, there was the issue of some school children not being able to cross a stream or river in their village to go to school. And you see, the idea, I think, of this whole thing was that at the time, you walk through the river or the stream to go to the other end of the stream to get to your educational center. So now that we are building bridges, should it still be a taboo or abomination that you cannot go to school when you menstruate? And those days, we all know that we were, excuse my word, we were using some cotton cloth to support our menstruation. Now that we are using, quote, proper sanitary pad, if there is a bridge, can't we just walk on the bridge and go? If there should be any pacification that should be made to the girls, can't we do that and allow children to go to school and learn? Because if you are to stay at home for about 7 days for your menstruation to stop, haven't you lost so much? Thank you very much. Advocacy should also aim at getting a public and traditional authorities to agree. So support of the government. We need support from the government. The long term of government, the long arm of government can be felt in all important matters in the country. The recommendations for action in this paper will require such a fundamental shift in certain entrenched social norms and official practices that the need for government support cannot be ignored. To be successful in getting traditional leaders and other stakeholders to accept the proposal of integrating women in the decision-making process, the support of government will be beneficial. National and regional chambers of Queen Mothers. The existing organized platform of Queen Mothers at the regional and national levels should be recognized by the government as the official mouthpiece of Queen Mothers. Because when our letters go to the various regional houses of chiefs, in case you need a Queen Mother or Queen Mothers to work with, then it becomes a prerogative of the registrar to select Queen Mothers who are in their good books. So if there's a Queen Mother, let's say there's a program on health, and there's a Queen Mother who is a nurse, who has the knowledge to work or to participate in that program, because that Queen Mother is not in the good books of the registrar, she will not be selected. And they will end up, or he or she may end up selecting maybe a caterer who is a Queen Mother to come and participate in health programs, putting a square peg in a round hole. Queen Mothers, like their Thank you very much. Queen Mothers, like their male counterparts, have a right to be consulted on traditional matters and on matters that affect their interest. They should be consulted as an organized body on policy discussion on land and other relevant traditional matters. Finally, it is recommended that provision is made for the setting up of national and regional chambers of Queen Mothers. We are also very much concerned about the hierarchy of a chieftaincy, because as a paramount queen mother, if you invite my sub queen mother to attend a program, she ends up sharing with her small community. But the paramount queen mother will invite all the rest of the queen mothers under her. As we are here, somebody has about 70 stools under one paramountcy. Or someone has 150, 40, and then that person, that queen mother, is going to invite all the rest of the queen mothers, share with them, then they also go and share with their community members. So we are very much concerned about the hierarchy. Action by female traditional leaders. Inaction and acquiescence by some queen mothers are partly responsible for the continued lack of progress in the fight against discrimination against women in their land rights. Active participation in the current advocacy effort by all queen mothers is necessary. This should be continued with advocacy at the district, regional, and national levels. Representation of queen mothers on boards and commissions. Very, very important. Qualified queen mothers, and I repeat, qualified queen mothers should be considered and selection and appointment on equal terms with their male colleagues to serve on public boards and commissions. This explicit provision is needed to advance the cause of gender equality, even where the law specifically requests. Even where the law specifically requests representation from a house of chiefs, the house can select a queen mother to represent them, even though she may technically not be a member of the house. This is because the law usually does not specify that the representative should be a member of the house. Yes. Serving on these boards will provide useful experience for female leaders. Affirmative action, almighty affirmative action. Affirmative action bill is under consideration by the government. It is recommended that provisions should be inserted in the bill for representation of female traditional leaders at all levels of decision making in respect of customary land management. When passed, thank you very much. When passed, the bill could make it easier for female traditional leaders to qualify to be members of the councils as a temporary means of bridging the gap between the men and the women. Gender advocacy groups must hold the government to its promise to pass the bill. Implementation plan. Any of the recommendations adopted for action should be supported by an implementation plan as well as monitoring and evaluation process to ensure successful implementation. And before my president comes to conclude or give her concluding remarks, I want to say that after nominating somebody as to become the chief, when there is dispute in the houses of chiefs, the person who nominated is not there to, in quotes, correct whatever mistake she made when she was nominating, unquote. Thank you.
I'm concerned the poor comes. We want to hear a little bit from our discussant for today. who is in the person of Madam Nana Ama Gira. She's the the founder and executive director of Hollandef. She's a land tenure expert, development policy analyst, and gender specialist by profession.
Nana chairperson, you know, when Nana Delpa was saying Nana chairperson, I was like, is any of the Queen Mothers a chairperson? And I remember that, okay, so she's Nana Yajantua. And so you are in the same situation like myself. And so I always introduce myself by saying that I am a Nana without a stool. Just to make sure that as I work with Queen Mothers and Chiefs, people don't confuse it and say that she's Nana because she's a Queen Mother. Yeah. So please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I stand on all the protocols that have already been mentioned. And I would like to say thank you to you for giving me the opportunity to be a discussant at this event. I wouldn't want to say much because I think the Queen Mothers have said it all. But I just want to reiterate certain key points that they have made. Because in my years of practice, I have had rebuttals that when you mention that Queen Mothers are not made part of the policy processes, the rebuttal is, oh, but we had this event and there was a Queen Mother. And I'm sure many of you have had that experience too. I was working with the Land Administration Project team, and anytime there was the need for consultations, we scrambled to find Queen Mothers to represent, and I mean to represent. But for the chiefs, it's easy. Go to the National House of Chiefs, right? Go to the Regional House of Chiefs. And what will you get? You will get a true representative of the house. What about Queen Mothers? So if you bring a representative from the National House of Chiefs to any public discourse and a decision is made with his input, you can confidently say that the input represents that of traditional leaders in Ghana, right? But what about the Queen Mothers? So if you know a Queen Mother and you call her because you know her, is that representation? No. So that is what we are talking about. Exactly. So that is what we are talking about. And it is the reason why what we are discussing is critical for this possible review of the Constitution. Because if we have a National House of Chiefs, and we are not saying it's not right to have it, it is okay to have it. But we are saying it is equally okay to have such a consultative platform for Queen Mothers. Because in our tradition, there is always a chief and a Queen Mother. The other thing I want to reiterate is also about the stool land revenue sharing. Honestly, the Constitution provides a framework that 55, in fact, 10% of the entire amount collected goes to the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands. They do the collection, and it is used as administrative funds. The remaining 90% is turned into 100%, and that amount is disbursed according to the constitutional formula that 55% goes to the district assembly, 25% goes to the stool, in keeping with its status, and 20% goes to the traditional council. Where is the Queen Mother in this benefit sharing framework? Where are they? Should it happen that, oh, if the Queen Mother is on good terms with the chief, then the chief will give her something? Is that what we want to do? Does the Queen Mother not have a status to keep? So we want to say that on this platform, if all that we have said, if nothing at all was possible, these two things should be possible. One, let us have that consultative platform for Queen Mothers so that they can truly be represented in all policy discussions. Two, let us review the constitutional framework for sharing stool land revenue. And it's the same with the royalties, so that queen mothers who also have a status to keep will have their share in that beneficiary framework. Thank you.
An additional comment. Madam Chair, Nana, I'm concerned before the bed. Nana Edichumwa Dukua, Mamaga Tolo Efue, my fellow majesties, all protocol observed. I am Mamaga Hueblo III, Paramount Queen Mother of OQUAYE Traditional Area. My contribution to this August meeting is that our current constitution lacks emotional intelligence. According to the Stanford Business School on whether emotions affect decision making, they found that more than 95% of decision making is based in emotion. Yet emotions in our part of the world is considered as weakness, and therefore wreaking havoc in the policies and procedures of our dear nation. Trauma-informed care is therefore a necessity. Trauma-informed care can be defined as the realization of the widespread and impact of trauma and understand the paths for recovery. We recognizing the signs and symptoms of trauma in patients, families, staff, citizenry, and integrating the knowledge about trauma into our policies, procedures, practices, and activities to actively avoid re-traumatizing citizenry. Emotional intelligence is essential in the formulation of our policies as a nation to avert the inebriation of power, which underpins the current order. My second contribution is that decentralization of power and accompanying structure needs clear definition and roles, as well as deliverables. These must be clearly spelled out in their accompanying consequences on the event of a breach of any of the roles, responsibilities, and the deliverables. Thank you.
Well, I get the impression from the Queen Mothers that apparently there seems to be some tension at the level, their levels between them and the chiefs and the paramount chiefs. So, is it that they cannot resolve these tensions at that level, and they are seeking, constitutional protection? Is that what they are trying to do? That's the question. And I also wanted to get their opinion on LGBTQ. Right? Because they are the custodians of children, and this thing is being instigated, introduced into our children, and so what is their opinion about that?
The definition of who a chief is in the current constitution, a chief also includes a queen mother. So even if that alone could be enforced, I don't think much else could be reviewed. But because even the current one hasn't been enforced, if there's going to be a new one, then of course there's room to now add all the opinions and recommendations that has been presented.
I don't want to offend anybody. However, for what I'm going to say, I need to show character. My sister and I come from the house of Abidjan. I cannot talk about Ashanti, because that's what I mean. Our grandfather built Abidjan. Our grandfather brought Pepper the First from Seychelles. So we are the house from the house of Nigeria. I'm sitting and asking myself, can anybody go and stand with 1, 2, 4 and give him instructions with regards to his criminal matters? And so for me, the most important thing, and I heard Honorable Queen Mother indicate about enforcement of the Constitution. If we really want things to change, the approach that we use to convince the chiefs and the level of chiefs like we took for to adhere to the Constitution is very important. Because at this point, what is in the Constitution is not being enforced. And you go to the chiefs, they won't mind you. They'll tell you, and some are ban. Yeah, what happened? Before the white man came and brought us laws, we were here. And so it's a fight between tradition and law. How we approach it to change some of the contents in the Constitution is key. But I believe, and I'll ask my three mothers here, what have you done to be able to change the mindset of our chiefs? Nobody can tell me that those of us here who are married, those of us here who are husbands and wives, nobody can tell me that when a wife gets into the bedroom with her husband and there's a problem, just a whisper, honey, this will, that will, this thing that you said, have you thought about it this way? He might throw you off, but I bet your bottom city, he will think about it when he gets up. And he will act in a way that makes it look as if it is his decision. I know what he wants to say. So for me, the approach is key. Before we decide to change anything, how we approach, how we approach the chief, how we approach the kings of this country is important. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So, on the point of advocacy to abandon outmoded practices, I'd like to ask, there are certain NGOs that focus on women empowerment, protecting and prioritizing women and young women as well. My question is, what appropriate channels will you recommend these NGOs to go through to ensure that we have maximum impact and outreach? Thank you.
Nana Chair, Madam Chair, or is it okay? Nana Chair. Honorable members, MPs, and our able Honorable Professor OQUAYE. In the first place, I just want to say a big thank you to Professor OQUAYE, who called and announced the invitation to take part in this important and memorable seminar. So thank you very much for, I think it's an honor, honored us, because we haven't had this experience before, have we? No. So thank you. And thanks to all honorable organizers of this program. It's very historical, and I'm sure this day will be remembered whenever it comes to the review of Ghana's 1992 Constitution. If we have a lot to say, there is a lot. I think you can bear with me that we need, if it comes to governance, lands, chieftaincy, mineral acts, and more. Therefore, pleading that if we can have another session, if possible. And then also want to touch on licenses awarded to miners and timber contractors. They come, the government awards them with their licenses to operate on our lands. So I think they have to monitor, and there's a law or clause binding the licenses or the permits. After they finish, they have to reclaim the lands. But rather, they come and accuse the chiefs of the areas and give us a lot of names. If the government is giving the
everything, all the license, you have to monitor the miners or whoever is operating on the land. And you see to it that the reclamation is done very well, or the timber or felled. They also replant. So I think this, I just wanted to add this to this, but there are more. I have a lot to say. That's why I'm appealing that if you can have another chance, you can have more, then you sit down and plan more, you just present our really, yeah, so that we can add it to whatever you are doing. So this is what I just wanted to add. And so on this note, I say a big thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can't mention all of you one by one, but thank you so much for this representation. And I think whenever this constitution is being reviewed, they will remember us. Even if it doesn't work now, in future, they will say some queen mothers came to the IEA and yes, well, that's so thank you.
I believe all protocols observed, we know ourselves now. This has been a very insightful and elating time. I didn't enjoy it like I enjoyed the men. With the men, I even left early. But with this one, I don't think I want to leave, but we can't stay here forever. One thing that has really stayed with me is what Nana Jennifer said. He said, how can I nominate someone and he becomes more powerful than me? Nana, that is traumatic, but there is a cure. The cure is that we need to do a lot of education amongst the chiefs. We need to engage them, a lot of stakeholder engagement, and to tell them what we feel and what they have to do. I know, you see, sometimes the men are threatened though. We have to know that they're a bit afraid. Yes, so we need to, speak to them, find a way of engaging them with other stakeholders. And I think that trauma will be cured. And this platform is a great platform, the Queen Mother's platform. And I think that it should be legalized. It should have some legal backing, some constitutional backing. And I believe without it, you couldn't have brought your people around. And this idea has to stay. It should not be disintegrated. And it's also very sad that you are unable to partake of the revenue from the stool lands. And I think something has to be done about it. There should be some form of legislation. Whatever we have said here today can be done. You talked about plan and implementation. Once there is a plan for implementation, I believe it can be done. No matter how difficult it is, there's nothing that is difficult for us to do. And I'm happy here that Nana said that we should pray for you. If I hadn't come to this event, I wouldn't have known the challenges you are facing. And these are real challenges that women face. Sometimes we talk about it, but we don't know it is that close. You have to be on board. Sometimes even certain boards, they indicate in the law. I remember when I was a PURC, they are all men, about 8 men, they said 1 woman. They even indicate that in the act that, set up the institution, that's 1 person. But I believe that you have the capacity to also be part of it. You have the capacity to be included. So there's a need for every one of us to create a space for Queen Mothers to be included in the discourse. That there should be cohesion amongst us, all of us. You rule over us wherever we come from. You are there with us. You look after us in the communities. And I believe the time has come for the IEA to move forward some of these constitutional issues that we have talked about. It is very, very key. I thank the IEA. I appreciate PROF very much for this initiative that he has taken to review the constitution. Mama Aga, you said the constitution is what? It lacks emotional intelligence. That's a great one that I'm going to take away with. Thank you very much for everything. But I also want to add that, to add to what my brother said, my grandfather was the Sanani of the Ashanti region. He carried the pest and he looked after Menshia. So thank you very much. We are home, and maybe that's why I'm feeling very light today, because I'm amongst my own. Thank you very much for meeting you, and I hope that we meet again. Thank you, and God bless you.